Welcome back to the O Show, where we chop through opinions and we slash our way through the jungle thick leaves of YouTube. Today we are going to be talking about the top 10 rookies in points last season in the NHL. Now, I wanted to just take a look at these guys and think about what's to come of them. These guys last year, their first real seasons to play for teams and see what they got to put on the ice for us. And, of course, the winner of the Calder Trophy last season, the Rookie of the Year award goes to who I think 100% deserved and was my pick to win it, was Moritz Seider, the German stud defenseman. He was number 4 in rookie points last year, and he was an absolute superstar. I think he rightfully deserved the trophy. I think he is going to be the next best defenseman. I think if you want to think as Cale Makar is the next offensively guy, sure. Well, Moritz Seider is the same, just all-around defenseman. Cale Makar, to me, gets benefited from the fact that he's got such an amazing team all around him. Moritz Seider did this on a team that is absolutely terrible, and I think that's a lot more impressive than what Cale Makar can do on the Avalanche. And I can't wait to see what this guy can do with a Red Wings team that I think is going to be at least halfway competent this upcoming season. So, of course, he wins that one. But I wanted to go down this list and talk about some other guys. Maybe some guys that I personally think are underrated. Let's take a look at number 5 on the list, Anton Lundell, 44 points. He's right behind Moritz Seider in points for rookies. And 44 points. I mean, that's pretty good. That's pretty good for a guy. And also, he was on the Panthers. Once again, he's helped out by the team around him, which is probably a big boost. But yeah, I didn't hear anything about him. I follow pretty much up to date with the NHL. I didn't hear anything about Anton Lundell until the playoffs, where I was really watching. I was like, whoa, this guy's actually pretty good. He's like actually a presence on the ice. So, Lundell, never heard about him. I knew of him, but I didn't hear anything about him. So I think he's pretty underrated. Another guy I think is underrated is Dawson Mercer, 42 points for the Devils. I've heard of his name. I heard it a lot, but I feel like I heard a lot of other names on that team. I heard I know Miles Wood wasn't a rookie this year, but I heard a lot more about like Miles Wood and Ty Smith and these other guys, and I feel like I didn't hear anything about Dawson Mercer other than his name, because it's a pretty cool name. So 42 points, he's 7th. He's only 2 points from number 5, and after that, number 5 is all the guys that are superstars. And I think another guy that's kind of underrated, but maybe not so much, is Lucas Raymond. It's not Raymond, it's Raymond, isn't it? I think that kid, 51 points, these 3 guys, Bunting, Zegers, and Seider, were the 3 guys talked about for the trophy, right? Even Tanner Jeannot, who has 41 points. These guys are all talked about for winning the Calder Trophy, and yet you don't hear anything about Lucas Raymond, and he was number 3, 51 points. He had more than Seider, and he's on the same team as the guy. And I just think that's pretty interesting. And then you go down the list here, and then you hear some names like Seth Jarvis. You know, it's like, well, I heard of him, but what did he do? He's top 10, 40 points. So I want to go down this list a little bit. So let's start at the top. Michael Bunting, the breakout star in Toronto after having a pretty solid 10 games. I think he played in Arizona. He played on Tucson. I saw him a lot in Tucson in the TCC arena. Well, it's not called the TCC Arena, it's just the TCC. But anyways, I saw him a lot. He would do his puck tricks right in front of me. I always said that he's my favorite on this team, other than another guy. But he was, a lot of people know his name, but I can't think of it right now. Not Garland. I saw Michael Bunting on the ice. He would always do the puck trick, throw his puck over the glass to the kid sitting right next to us, because we had front row seats, and he would do it. I saw it all the time. I loved him. I thought he was great. I thought he was a cool guy because of that, and I'm so glad that he got a chance to play in the NHL. And he goes and he scores 10 goals or something in 15 games, something like that for Arizona. And he gets called up. He goes to Toronto, and here he is, top of the board, 63 points. That is not nothing. 63 points is incredible. And I think next year, for me, I'm going to put him, I think 63 points is going to be a big benefit because of his hard playing, I call it like the Garland type player, where they're just like relentless energy, just keep pushing, just like The guy that's just like so much that they just always drive. They're like a train. They just keep going, right? And I feel like Michael Bunting was that type of player, and I think he's helped out by the fact that his teammates are Austin Matthews and Mitch Marner. I think that is a huge benefit to anyone that plays along with them. But Bunting, 63 points, I think that's probably about where he fits. Maybe he gets a little bit more, maybe a little less, but I don't see him turning into like an 80 points guy. But I feel 63 points is around his territory of where he could be at. Number 2, Trevor Zegras, this highlight reel machine, Mr. Zegras himself. The guy that can do any crazy move he wants, and he's just insanely good. Now, of course, a lot of people give him backlash for having like a terrible minus thing, but he was on the Ducks. What do you expect? He's not gonna. He's on the Ducks. What do you expect him to do? Minus and stuff is a whole big deal when the rest of your team has a minus. But anyways, 61 points, the highlight machine. This guy's obviously gonna take off. I think if he was on a better team than the Ducks, I think he would be already a superstar. But 61 points for his first year is obviously incredible. I cannot wait to see what he can do in his future seasons. Already 61 points in first season. That's incredible. He's already going to do those cool flips. I can't wait to see what he can do next. I think he's going to go up in points. And I would say he gets to at least 70 to maybe 80 this season. I think his ceiling is probably like an 80 to. I think his ceiling is probably like an 80 points guy usually, maybe in the low 90s, and he'll have one great season where he gets into the hundreds. I feel like that's kind of his career trajectory. Raymond, 51 points last year. I think that's going to go up because I feel like the Red Wings are going to be incredible this year. Well, not incredible, but I think they're going to be better than they were last year, and especially when he's got help now with Kubalik and David Perron added to the team. I think this guy is going, and then other guys just going up through the lineups as well. I think he's going to be able to go up in points just by the sheer fact that he's going to have better players around him, which makes me go to Moritz Seider as well, is that because he's going to have more guys to play with, like Kubalik and Perron. He's already going to have better guys to play off of, and they're going to probably be more of a winning team this year, that with those guys, Seider's going to get more assists, which he already had. He led 43 assists last year. 43 assists, 7 goals for Moritz Seider. I mean, he's going to play with those guys. That's obviously going to go back up. I also think, I'll tell you that later. Anton Lundell, I would say he probably stays roughly the same. I would say 44 points. Maybe he probably gets a little bit higher this upcoming season. But I feel like he's not really going to be that great. I don't think he's going to be like that huge of a superstar. Maybe he gets to 50 this year. Maybe. I don't think he's going to go down in points. But I feel like 40 plus for right now, I think is probably where he's at. I think maybe he gets to 55. 55 seems good for Lundell. Cole Caulfield. Now, the guy that was so scrutinized at the beginning of the season, sent back to the AHL to be brought back, he got 43 points. He got top 10 in rookie scoring, and it's not like it's bad either. 43 points, he's only 7 behind Seider, who won the trophy. I mean, it's not like he did terrible or anything. 43 points. If I was in the NHL and got that, I would feel top of the world. And he's only going to get better. Now, of course, it's also helped by the fact that he was on one of the worst team in the NHL this last season in the Montreal Canadiens. So it's not like he had a lot of help or anything, especially being a smaller guy. He's going to get on the ice. He needs some more backup to cover him. Instead, when he's on the ice, he's the only guy that the other team needs to worry about. So, of course, they're going to shut him down. He's small. He's too small to really, tank his way through things. And he's still growing where he can't really dangle through everyone either. So, he's still getting there. And as a sharpshooter, I think he's totally going to go up in points. I feel like 43 points for this upcoming season. I think he's probably going to get higher than that. I know I put plus or minus. That meant equal, probably around the same. But I think he probably gets maybe I would say this upcoming season he stays the same. But as the Canadians get better, or maybe one day he leaves this team, I totally see him being. Caulfield is probably I would say he's like a DeBrincat type player, like smaller but still has a ton of speed and talent that I think he can probably get into like probably the 70s to 80s eventually in his career. Next, Dawson Mercer, the underrated guy. I think 42 points, especially on his still struggling / growing Devils. I would say 42 points is probably okay, maybe round it up to 50. But I still feel like Dawson Mercer, 42 points is probably good where he is right now. He'd probably go up a little bit, but I don't see it getting much greater than 42 points. Tanner Jeannot, I saw this guy in person, and I love Tanner Jeannot. He led rookies in scoring, I'm pretty sure. He was right behind Bunting up here. Tanner Jeannot, I think, is going to go way up in points. I think in my mind, I believe that the Predators are going to jump out this season. I think they're really going to really go for it this year, and I think that Tanner Jeannot is going to be a big part of that, especially it just feels like Jeannot is going to be one of those type of guys. He has the size, he has the skill, and after playing 1 year in the league, I think he's going to be able to break out and be a huge star. I think he probably gets to, I would say, at least 55 to 60 points this year, I would say. Next, Seth Jarvis, a guy that I don't know if he's not going to get worse. But he got 40 points in his first year, and he's on a stacked Hurricanes team. Now, they lost Vincent Trocheck. It kind of makes sense. And I think Jarvis is going to go up in points. I think he's going to be a huge part of that team's future. I think he's going to be a real silent killer, and I like Seth Jarvis. He's got a cool name, too. And last on the list, number 10, Matt Boldy, the defenseman, I think. To be honest, I don't really know much about Matt Boldy, but I will say 39 points for him. Pretty good for a guy I don't really know, to be honest. So that's really all I have to say about this. I think the superstar out of this list, of course, is Moritz Seider. The guy that I think is going to jump out the most this upcoming year, I would say probably Zegras. I don't really think Bunting. I think maybe he goes up to maybe get to 70, but maybe not even 63. Could go either way, but I think Zegras is going to grow. I think Caulfield will, maybe not. But Jeannot, I feel like Jeannot and Moritz Seider are going to be the two guys that jump out this season. But overall, who's going to be the superstar? Seider. Moritz Seider is the guy. He is going to be the next best defenseman in the NHL. He is the next Victor Hedman. Makar could be the new Erik Karlsson when Erik Karlsson was still good, and I'll say Seider can be the next Roman Josi / Victor Hedman. That's how I would describe it. So that's really all I have to say about the top 10 rookies of last season. I'm going to do one about the top 10 guys I think could be the rookies this season. That's going to be what I'm going to do next, probably. So I guess if you like this video, please pick up your free subscription down below by hitting that red subscribe button. If you like this video, leave a like, not a dislike. You can go down below and tell me how wrong I am, and tell me who do you think from this list is going to be the breakout talent this year. It could be Dawson Mercer. It could be Cole Caulfield. Who knows? Maybe it could be Anton Lundell. I don't know. And tell me, who do you think is going to be the rookie of the year this season? Because I think it'll be William Eklund, because I'm a Sharks fan, so whatever. But until next time, thank you for watching. I've been the dapperly dressed Owen. Too sweet, and ta-ta for now.